Hey everyone, it's Sean with Pew Pew Tactical, back once again with another exciting review. This one is a brand new product from Springfield Armory called the Echelon. Before we get into it, we gotta take a tour through ancient history. Please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Let YouTube know that you dig our content and you want more of it. In exchange, we'll provide you with this cringy gun meme. Now imagine a Spartan shield.
Well, hello there. I'm just an ordinary businessman on his way to work with his little briefcase. You go on about your business, you see?
The year is 371, July 6th. The Spartans were riding high after their victory over the Athenians in the Peloponnesian War. The Thebans weren't too happy with the Spartans. They decided to resist, and at that time, the Battle of Leuctra was joined. The Spartans well outnumbered the Thebans, but the Thebans had some tactics on their side. Epaminondas used an echelon formation, deeply stacking his units on the left side with a trailing right wing. As the two formations collided, the right side of the Spartans' line was decimated and turned. The king was even killed. The Thebans then routed the rest of the Spartan army, giving them a great victory over superior forces. Springfield Armory is invoking the Spartans and the use of superior tactics by the Thebans to defeat them. Applying that to the Echelon, pretty high bar. They're marketing this as a duty weapon. I'm qualified to make that assessment. I spent 22 and a half years in law enforcement, 15 of that uniform, and the next 7.5 as an investigator, where I was also a firearms instructor, occasionally teaching at the academy. I'm going to put this thing through its paces and let you know what we think. Just as an overview, what is the Springfield Armory Echelon? Striker-fired polymer frame gun with a stainless steel chassis on the inside with a 20+1 capacity. It's got a lot of those features that law enforcement officers are looking for. So let's talk about ergonomics and features here. We've got a really good grip angle, pretty straight up, does a good job at helping mitigate recoil. The grip itself has a really nice shape. It's rounded, a little flat on the sides, but there's no hard pan desert located there. The grip is textured with, I would say, like maybe 600 grit sandpaper. It's fairly aggressive as far as texturing goes. A decent sized beaver tail over the back, and that has been sufficient through our testing to cover my big hands, which occasionally get some slide bite. Moving forward, good undercut here so you can establish a high grip. The trigger guard also has a lot of room. It's very generous. We shot this so much that it got hot, and I put on gloves and didn't have any issues still accessing or manipulating the trigger. Forward of that, up on the side of the frame, you've got a couple of areas where the texture is carried on. While it's not quite a gas pedal, there is texture there that you can get your thumb on and help you establish a little more grip. Moving up to the slide, really good serrations up here. Nice when you're manipulating the slide, also for press checking, work really good. They're present back on the rear too. And also moving on to the internals, in the slide itself and down in the frame, you've got the centralized operating group. Now this is a serialized fire control system that can be moved to different frames. And in this essence, Springfield is going to have small, medium, and large frames. So that should line up with pretty much every shooter out there. One of the other things that I appreciate about what Springfield has done with the Echelon is the variable interface system. That's what they're calling their optics mount. There's no plate involved, so you don't have to worry about getting a gun new out of the box and then having to go back and order something else. There are over 30 optics that will mount up to this system. We obviously have a Trigicon RMR, and it's been doing a great job. The other cool thing about it is they deepened the area that you mount. In conjunction with these irons, you can co-witness. You're saving space without a plate, and you're able to directly mount to the slide. So that was really well done. In addition, the entire gun is ambi. So there are magazine release on both sides and slide stop and release also. You don't have to swap anything. It is automatically ambidextrous out of the box. Magazines are steel framed with a polymer base plate, and they are standard 17 round, but they come with this base plate that is an additional +3, so a 20 round capacity. In addition, the grip has 3 different back straps. There's a small, medium, and large, so you can adjust that to fit your hand size. Moving on to accuracy, we're going to stack up on the 7 here and just shoot some 5-round groups and see what we can expect. Ooh, I wouldn't believe that if I hadn't just shot it, but let's go take a look. So we started out down here, 3 and 1 and 2 touching, pretty good. I spread out a little bit here, but all still within an inch. And then in the last one, really good idea of where the trigger is, where it's breaking, and I put 5 in the same friggin' hole. So I am very pleased with that. That's extremely accurate. 50 yards. Pretty good accuracy that we're getting out of the Echelon here. Let's see how it applies at 50. I'd say pretty good. Special shout out to Nosler. Want to say thank you for sending out some 124 grain jacketed hollow points for this review. So the trigger is really good. It's striker fired, obviously, so it has some limitations compared to hammer fired, but that being said, the safety mechanism flattens out completely with the face of the trigger, so you don't feel it once it's depressed. The actual bow itself is fairly straight. It starts out with an angle from the top and then bends down the rest of the way. There's a little bit of a ledge at the bottom, not really anything that you feel, but it's nice and comfortable, and the angle is good. It'll come all the way back to here, and then it hits a wall. Before it breaks, you travel just a little bit, and we'll demonstrate that now. Reset is pretty quick, right there. It's maybe 1.5 millimeters, something like that, and it's audible and tactile, so that's good. And I found that when I was shooting strings, I could relax my finger back to reset and get back in quickly. So it's got some really good performance. And as long as you've got good control over the actual grip itself, you can ride the dot through recoil and have a pretty rapid fire that's still relatively accurate. So once again, we'll break the shot. We're going to come all the way back to the wall right here, very defined wall, and then we'll go ahead and pull it back to break it. And once again, reset right there. So an interesting observation, something that happens occasionally with me as a particular shooter. When you run into problems, we really try to eliminate the shooter as the source of that problem. And in this case, we weren't getting locked back. So what we're going to do right now is demonstrate how my grip is affecting this. Now, the funny thing is, the slide stop is really high on the gun. It's up and out of the way. It even has a protective shelf, a little fence built up around it. So that should be pretty good as far as keeping it out of the way. But what we're coming up with is that consistently, when I shoot with my normal grip, it won't lock back. So again, that was 2 rounds, dead trigger. I'd have to do something to take care of that. So what I'm going to do now is load up 2 more rounds. This time I'm going to alter my grip with the thumb down, and we'll see if we get locked back. So what we've discovered is that consistently, it is me, I'm the one who's causing that to happen. But if you have a 2X size hand or somewhere in that range, this could be an issue with you. Same for me with the Walther PDP, which is another phenomenal gun, but I still have that same issue. But the Walther PDP has a much larger slide stop, slide release, so kind of interesting. So we also found that with Johnny shooting the same gun, Johnny Fantastic, ladies and gentlemen, we didn't have that issue. Nice. The old safari land. Go back to the ways of old, drawing from retention, man. Very nice. While I'm at it, please head over to the article if you want the full details of the Springfield Armory Echelon. You find it at pewpewtactical.com. So Springfield also thought of the carriers for off-duty. They sent along a holster from Quick Violent Over. Not making any jokes about that, but it's AIWB. And with the smaller base plate, you have a 17 round capacity, but it prints a little less. So you don't have that extension that is going to cause more issues when you try to cover it up with a garment. So still working really well, and with the different sized frames, you should be able to customize just exactly how you like it because you'll be using that cog system. So it's working really well. Man, so final thoughts on the Echelon. You know, Springfield has an ambitious firearm here. They're targeting the law enforcement market, and that's something that you've got to have reliability, you've got to have accuracy, and this gun has it in spades. We ran through 1,000 rounds, and the last 500 of them were almost burn down fashion, and it had no issues whatsoever. It is absolutely solid. The accuracy we demonstrated, really good. In fact, it's better than several firearms that I've tested recently. Being able to narrow down and put 5 through the same hole for me, you know, me being the standard, that's really good. Trigger is great, capacity is really good. The one thing that I would knock it against is having 2 magazines. If it comes with 2 magazines standard, that's a slight, because law enforcement, you've got to have 3 magazines as a standard for any firearm that's going to be going out to a duty capacity. So we'll see how they package it when it comes out, but 3 magazines, and I think that's critical. Obviously, the accessory rail holds up really well. I've been banging the Surefire X300 for the entire test, and it's done well. The Safariland holster that we have on hand, been really good. It's fun to draw from retention again, getting that muscle memory fired back up. And the optic system, I think, is really keen. You've got the lowered shelf where you can mount over 30 different optics without a plate, which keeps it down low and allows you to co-witness with these Trijicon night sights. The information that we have is pre-release, so that could be subject to change, but what I'm being told right now, the pricing is going to start at $679 for the base model, and then go up to $739 for the model with more features like a suppressor capable barrel. All in all, I think Springfield has knocked it out of the park with this thing. I heartily recommend it. That's going to do it from us at Pew Pew Tactical. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one.